Chat live stream or what is it? A live stream? Gosh, sometimes I fumble my words, but it's good to see everyone. I see a lot of people here already. That's awesome. Good to see you, Jeff and Larry and John, ATR Bear, Erna, Zachary. What I like to do is just catch up with the community, see how everybody's doing. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing pretty good, more or less. Every morning I have to clear my throat. As soon as I start talking, that's when it seems to come up, but sorry about that. But yeah, I like to just catch up and I also like to let you guys drive the conversation. So this is always an open Q&A for anything photography related. Uh, I'll tell you a couple things I've been up to. Okay, I think I got it. Sorry about that. That's really weird. Every time, there's always something with a stream. But welcome to my photography chat live stream where we get together as a community and catch up with how everybody's doing. I'm doing well, thank you, and I hope all of you are doing well today. It's springtime here, so the flowers are starting to come out, and I've been doing some macro photography on these little tiny flowers. They're only a couple of millimeters across. But I'm getting some decent shots, and I've been trying this little macro lens adapter. It just kind of snaps on the front. It's similar to the Raynox. I don't have any problem. I paid like half what you would pay for a Raynox, and this is only $39, and it just clips onto the front of your lens, and it works pretty well. I like this better than the extension tubes. I think the image quality is even better than using extension tubes, and magnification is more or less the same. But this one works really well with the 40 to 150 kit lens. And, and I've been experimenting with different focus stacking software. There's a couple more I need to try, but so far I've worked with Photoshop, Picolay, which is free, and then Helicon Focus, which is a paid one. Like $115 for a lifetime license. So it's not cheap. But so far it's doing the best job. Uh, Significantly better than the other 2. Now Picolay, I think, can do a good job. Once I kinda tweak the parameters, I can get some really good results for the most part, but the challenge that the software is having which Helicon Focus seems to manage the best, is the focus breathing. Uh, so focus breathing is when you focus at different points in the focal plane or in the depth of field, the image size or the focal length changes a little bit, right? So the image is a little bigger, a little smaller with each frame. And this is where everything but Helicon seems to be having trouble with. And the result is you get haloing and blotches or what they call holes in the focus stack. But I'm working on it. Once I get a decent workflow with Picolay, hopefully I can just use that. I don't really want to spend $115 for something I don't do very often, which is, focus bracketing. And I didn't try any of the in-camera focus stacking that, the some of my OM system cameras have. Just want to use the kit lenses with this adapter and do this as cost effectively as possible. Because yeah, you could certainly go all in, get the 90 millimeter macro, get the OM1, do in-camera stacking, and it really does a good job. Uh, but yeah, that's not really a fun option, right? That's like if you're serious about it. You can have fun and be serious, but a lot of us just want to have some fun with focus bracketing and stacking, and that's what I'm going to try and do. But as always, these streams are about open Q&A. I let the audience, you guys, drive the conversation. I'm happy to talk about anything, give you my opinion if you ask. One thing I learned is just never give your opinion unless someone asks for it. So anyhow, let's see. I see David Black is here. Good morning, Erna. Good to see you. I'm doing well. And oh, a little comment here. I uploaded JPEG last time and not RAW file because my phone can't read RAW, so I just transfer. Oh, okay. Okay. I see. So that JPEG was on it. Okay, I understand now. I understand. Um, so you're not reading your images directly into your computer, where you can get the RAW file and just upload it. Okay. And Jeff Painter, good to see you. Tim Adams, Soggy, Ohio. Yeah, March is known for its rain, right? Or wind. And we're almost into April, which is known for its showers, right? So April showers, May flowers. It's been cloudy last few days, so it's already started. And Jeff is in Southern England. Beautiful sunny day. Yeah, it's so nice. Oh, I'm so happy. I haven't had to have a space heater on the last few days, which is really nice. Um, Still use an electric blanket at night, but it's down to half what I normally have it set to. In the wintertime, I have that set all the way to high. And even then, it didn't feel warm enough. I had to throw blankets on top of it. And Steve is here. Good morning. And let's see. Erna says, do you know about the new Canon R50V? Jared Poland did a review on it a few days ago. So I haven't watched too many videos on that. I skimmed a little bit of one by Gordon Lang. I think he's probably the most subjective uh, reviewer. And what I recall was there's no IBIS. And then I watch Camera Conspiracies. It's just for fun. I don't take anything he says too seriously, uh, but yeah, Gordon Lang, I think it was fine. Uh, I guess, it's like that XM5, right, from Fuji. It doesn't excite me too much, mainly because there's no EVF, and it's geared towards videography. I'm just not a videographer, you know? Uh, I mean, I do it for paid jobs time to time, and that's when I go in just 10-bit, you know, OM log 400 and then grade it in post. But for everything else, usually it's just program mode, pick a color profile, and it is what it is. I don't worry about shutter angles. I don't worry about frames per second, all of that. That just it's it's irrelevant to the kind of content that I produce, right? Nobody cares what video settings I use to create the content, because I'm not trying to teach you videography. It's mainly about, can you see what I'm trying to show you clearly, right? But I think if you are into videography, doing vlogging and stuff, I think the R50 doesn't have IBIS in it, so you're going to rely on lens image stabilization, which is not ideal for vlogging, unless you like shaky footage, right? Or get a gimbal. There's really nothing better than, say, an OM5 with a 12 millimeter, 2.0 lens for vlogging. It has a mic jack. It has outstanding image stabilization, and at 12 millimeter f2, you got plenty of, width, field of view, wide enough field of view, as well as plenty of light gathering ability at f2. So, and it's small, compact, lightweight. I mean, what more could you ask for in a vlogging camera and a screen flips around, right? So I don't, I just don't see uh, the point of these other cameras, right? Without that are so limited to just videography. They're a tiny bit smaller, maybe, but ultimately, it's the final output that matters. And I feel like, that the kit lens that came with it was an f4, uh, 24 millimeter equivalent, give or take. So yeah, I think if you want to vlog and you want like a legit camera to vlog with, that'll give you great quality. It's a OM5 with a 12 millimeter f2, and it doesn't have the headphone jack, but that's not so critical because most people use an external mic, and all of the external mics have the wireless ones anyway have the headphone jack built into the receiver, so you can still monitor your audio. And there's also, if you like to use boom mics that just go on top, then yeah, then some of the boom mics I think have an output. But for the most part, if you're going to use a boom mic, yeah, there's no way to monitor your audio, but just look at your level meters, right? I mean, you see the level meters going, then you're probably okay. Okay, I need to turn off something here. Okay, there we go. Back to the chat window. But, Canon makes nice stuff, but it's just it just doesn't interest me, something like that, a camera like that. Okay, let's see. Quite a bit of chat in here. Oh, what's cool this week? I hope to see the new Nikon Z5 too. Yeah, that'll be nice. I mean, the original Z5 was a great camera. Very compact, full frame, 24 megapixel, decent autofocus, according to Maddie. Anyway, Maddie likes his. Thinks the autofocus is pretty good. So I imagine the Z5 II will just have some more computational stuff, maybe, right? Give it a little more power on the back end, because they're probably going to use the same sensor, 24 megapixel. Maybe they'll up the video specs with a new sensor, but I don't know. The Z5 II coming in at like $1,200 or 1,300. It's a decent deal if you want to go full frame. And you're already in the Nikon system, or you want to get started with Nikon. It's a nice camera. I shot Nikon for many years. Just on the DSLR side. I've never shot with their mirrorless stuff, or I've never owned a mirrorless Nikon. I still have my Nikon DF, which I'm very content with. It's pretty bulky by today's standards. but it's a great camera. Great output, beautiful colors. Paired with the 24 to 85 VR lens, man, that thing is magical. Gosh, there's so many great cameras out there. And the Z5 is really, I think, every bit as good, if not better, than the Nikon DF that I have, but it's mirrorless and there's already a great selection of lenses, albeit they're a little pricey on the Nikon side. Not that they're not good lenses and not worth what they're asking. It's just it'd be nice to have some alternatives that were a lot cheaper. Um, and they're coming from third parties and stuff. I mean, Viltrox is just killing it. They have some of the finest lenses in autofocus world. On the manual focus side, I think TT Artisan, 7 Artisans has got a really good selection. And they're getting there with the autofocus. Uh, I've reviewed a couple of their autofocus lenses, and they're really good for the price point. Really good. And Erna asks, what is a kit lens? How's it different from other lenses? You said kit lens has more vignetting. So kit lenses that's typically the lens that comes with the camera when you buy it. Uh, so if you buy like the EM10 Mark IV, it comes with a 14 to 42 as a kit together. So it's usually referred to that lens as the kit lens because it's an entry level lens meant to get you started, keep the price point down. uh, you could argue that the 12 to 45 f4 Pro is a kit lens because it comes in a kit with the OM3, for example, and a lot of times with the OM5. And in that scenario, I wouldn't call it a kit lens. I would call it by what it is, a 12 to 45 Pro. So when people say kit lens, they're generally referring to the budget entry level lens that comes with entry level cameras. That's all. And they're usually a little bit slower, like f3.5, f4 in that range. So like the Canon R50 V, whatever it's called, comes with a comes with a lens, like an f4 to something. But I would call that a kit lens. Generally all plastic build. And but kit lenses give decent quality, good enough to get started. Nothing wrong with kit lenses. I use them all the time. So like the 40 to 150 f4 to f5.6 is all plastic, and it came as a kit with the EM10s a lot of times, together with the 14 to 42. So I refer to that lens a lot of times as a kit lens. The 75 to 300, I should not refer to as a kit lens, although I do that time to time. Because again, it's an all plastic build. It's very compact. It's relatively slow at 6.3 or whatever it is. Technically, it's not a kit lens. I've never seen that lens come in as a kit with other cameras, but it's a budget entry level telephoto zoom, and that's why I call it a kit lens. And Darko says, looks to be in the rumors that the Z5 II will be internal ZF, but with handling of a Z6 III, kind of a poor man's Z6 III, maybe. Okay. So they're just basically giving it a new processor, right? So it's faster, better out of autofocus algorithms and whatever else. Yeah, it sounds nice. Poor man's Z6 III. That's a good way to look at it. And Roger says, well, checking the firmware page for the OM1, such a dope. I am not foreseeing the button reassignment from menu button to the trash button. Oh, I just updated uh, my OM1 last month. I mean, that firmware has been out for months. So this was my macro setup. 40 to 150 kit lens, Godox trigger because I was using flash. But anyhow, I mean, I've not reassigned that button. I'm pretty content with the menu button being over here. Uh, button settings, button function. What were they saying? You can assign the trash button now to the menu or something. I saw it. Yeah, it's on the button settings menu right there. So if you go to the button settings menu, there's a button function, but then at the bottom, menu operation by trash. Set to no. Let me set the brightness down so it's easier to see. So you go into the operations menu, page 1, then button settings, and then at the bottom it says menu operation by trash. And just change that to yes. And then ideally, if I push the trash button now, it just goes into the menu. Just a simple add-on in firmware. And Marco's here. Hey, Marco, how are you? And Roger says, having the Olympus 30 and 60 macros are such a great, yeah. I had a chance to buy the 60 macro for $285. You know, basically mint. I let it go because it would make my macro work a lot easier rather than, putting together some Frankenstein setup with like this on front of the 40 to 150 and zooming in and out. But, I just do it for fun. I don't do macro all that much or focus bracketing. So I'm just going to stick with the budget option. $285. I'd probably go with, get a difference, put that money to a different lens for myself. Like maybe the 15 millimeter 1.7 or, there's another lens I was looking at. Maybe towards the 12 to 45 Pro for my OM3. You're hilarious. We didn't ask for your opinion about opinions. Oh, man. Let's see. Hope you can share the macro image. I have a couple on my Instagram and Flickr. Let me. So I was working on a set this morning, but it didn't come out too well. There's some haloing and stuff. This is a Picolet, but see. We go over to my Flickr page. I have one here. And this flower, I don't know what it's called, but this flower is only 2, maybe 3 millimeters in diameter. It's really tiny. Uh, and if you look really close, I was able to pretty much fill the frame. You can see a little bit of haloing here. That's from the focus breathing in the out of focus areas. What did I use on this one? This one I used Helicon. But when you just look at the image straight up, it looks fine. If you're not pixel peeping, uh, into the edges and stuff. But if you just look like in the center, that looks really good. Uh, and then this one, let's see, this one I stacked with Photoshop. And this came out pretty good. This one I didn't zoom in quite as much. I was trying to get a little bit of the environment around it. This looks really good. So you can head over to my Flickr page and check those two out. Let's see. Here's another one I did. This is a single shot. This is not a focus bracketing. But you can see I used the 40 to 150 kit lens with the OM3, and I just did a single shot. And that looks really good, I think. Tiny bit of softness. Not softness, but mushiness to it. Why is that? My shutter speed wasn't that great. Oh, f16. I don't know why I was at f16. I was trying different things. So there's some diffraction here. I think that's what's causing this little bit of, yeah, this is diffraction. I lost some sharpness here. Uh, and then let's see. This is another macro shot I did. This one was, yeah, this is I only did 3 shots on this one and stacked them. So that's why like the petals in the background here are not quite as in focus. So, but 3 shots is all I needed to get a pretty decent stack. I think this came out really, really good too. What was this? OM1 or OM3 with the 40 to 150 kit lens. And again, I want to note that I have the macro lens adapter attached to the front, the one that I showed you. If you want one, you can go to my page here. Go in here to Rob's Handpicked Deals. There's a bunch of lenses on sale, by the way. If you want to talk about any of those, I can. But where? Here it is. So this comes, it's 40 bucks and it comes with, it'll fit between 37 millimeters and 72 millimeter filter rings, and it just pops on the front. And the quality is really good. So definitely check that out. Just go to robtrek.com/deals and you can find my page there. It'll take you to this page and then just scroll down. I bought these. Somebody told me that Marcus Picks, David was telling me that Marcus Picks did a video on these and he got the idea from one of his viewers. So I bought a couple, they came in. They're not bad. They're not bad. I found a better one. This one. This has the little, cutout for the mirror. So it makes it more practical to use in a car. But the reason I like this better is because it has fiberglass poles. So it's a little bit more durable and better made. Also, the handle is a gooseneck, so you can kind of bend it around. So I think it's a little more versatile, and it's on sale for like half price. Uh, so I think you're getting definitely a much better windshield sunshade here that you can use as a reflector if you want to use it as a reflector. And I did a couple of test shots with it. It's pretty good actually. Um, Now how do I get back to, yeah, so I'm gonna try and use it in my studio from going forward. I might even use it on, I got a photo shoot tomorrow. Some actually a art studio. I think I'll take them there tomorrow and see if I can use them. And let's see, Dale Cribbins, good to see you from Michigan. How far can you go with DX editing JPEGs and DxO Photolab? Well, you can do everything with a JPEG that you can do with a RAW. There's really no limit other than you can't apply D'Prime XD. So exactly the same, given the limitations that JPEGs have in general in terms of dynamic range and color, being able to, the flexibility of JPEGs versus RAW. But other than that, it does everything save for like the D'Prime XD. Uh, and Peter says, hello, snow and freezing rain in May cured my gas with a $40 Holga, saved myself thousands. Yeah, I've tried that. And the Olympus brand, the 12 millimeters half priced. Wow, that's a deal. I might have to pick that up again. I got rid of mine because I figured I had a 12 to 40 Pro and I don't shoot at 12 millimeters very often. I figured if I need it, I can just go uh, use my 12 to 40 Pro. And that's what I've been doing. That's why I've been kinda holding off on that getting that lens again. And Robin says, "Hello, Rob. The ospreys are nesting in port deposit near Conowingo again." Oh, cool. I've been seeing some Conowingo or, osprey pictures now coming out. So I'm looking forward to that. I wanna get some good osprey pictures this year. And, Click Flash is here. Good to see you. Good morning. And Roberto. Hey, Roberto, how are you? Hi, Rob. What was that Sony lens you got? The 24 to 240 I got. I have not bought any, I haven't bought any telephoto lenses for that camera. People are telling me to buy that new 200 to 800 or whatever it is. I'm not doing it. That thing is massive. Why would I do that when I got an OM1 with a 300 f4 Pro? Uh, but the lenses I have for my Sony, the 55 millimeter f1.8 prime is the Zeiss. Gotta get that lens. And then the kit lens, the 28 to 60. And I also have a 20 millimeter 2.8 that I bought for a photo job, and that's it. I'm getting a 75 millimeter f2, I think from Viltrox. They're gonna send me one to review. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if I'll keep it or not, but it's because I had the 85 millimeter 1.8 from PT Artisans or Seven Artisans. I think it was Seven Artisans. And that was a great lens too, but I just don't use that camera very much. So I got rid of that lens. I got rid of a lot of lenses and I bought uh what did I buy with that? I bought my Deluxe 8 with it. My Leica Deluxe 8. So I got rid of all those lenses. I got rid of a lot of the lenses that I reviewed on the channel. Not because they weren't good lenses, it's just they were for cameras that like my XH2 and my Sony A7R5. I just don't use those cameras. So I'd rather, you know, review the lens, give people the information they need about it, and then use that money when I sell them to get uh, something I probably will use, like my Leica Deluxe 8. That was a that's a great little camera. But, Roberto, let me know, it'll be interesting to see. I guess you're gonna publish on your channel. You got an A7 IV, which is the 33 megapixel full frame. A lot of people like that camera, and I guess, after a while, I don't know, I wasn't that thrilled when I bought the A7R5 when I first got it. I liked the deal that I got. I got such a good deal, but yeah, that was a FOMO, fear of missing out thing. That was a FOMO purchase. And Cliff, good to see you from Wales. And Olympus M43 cameras is a hi Rob. Did you know the Pen F, EP7, and OM3 are the only cameras targeting specific colors? All the other cameras do global adjustments. LUTs similar to Color Creator Best. Oh yeah, yeah, I know that. But what Siegfried? How you doing, Siegfried? Good to see you. Um, yeah, what he's referring to is the color wheel that you get in those three cameras. The creative dial gives you access to that. So this one, the little creative dial here, if I put that onto color, then I get this color wheel. Can't see that. I got the brightness turned all the way up. So he's referring to this color wheel, right? So that you can adjust, what did he say, 12 individual colors. So basically, you're adjusting saturation of each color that's in the frame or in the scene. So, for example, if you have a red car with some green trees behind it, then you can increase the saturation of the red and the green or decrease it. But if you increase the blue saturation and there's nothing blue in the scene, it's not going to make any difference in the image. So that is the only limitation to the Creative Wheel. I wish they had enhanced is the ability to adjust the hue so that not only can you adjust the saturation, but also adjust the hue, mean shift the color a little bit yellow or a little bit more blue. If you have a red car, you can shift it a little more yellow or a little more blue. And that would really expand your creative choices quite a bit. Now, you can adjust the white balance by shifting it magenta, green, or blue, amber. So that gives you a little flexibility, but it's not really direct control because that white balance shift is a global change. It affects all of the colors in the scene. Darko says there are for sure Z-mount aftermarket lenses that work well, but I have stuck with FTZ adapter f-mount lenses with my wildlife shooting. 7200 with a TC 1.4 is fantastic. Oh, okay. Let's see. ClickFash says, I am looking into upgrading my EM1 Mark II to the OM1 Mark II. Our OM system refurb product is good as brand new. Has anyone purchased their camera from OMS? Yeah, I've purchased a few things from their store. I purchased a Pen F, and I got it for 600 bucks. I had a 20% sale. This was a couple of years ago. This maybe more than that now. It's probably been 4 years. But they used to have the Pen Fs on refurb, and the shutter count was less than 1,000 on it. So yeah, it was like brand new when I got it. I also purchased uh, the Olympus Air camera. It was brand new, never used. And I purchased the 15 millimeter body cap lens. That was brand new. I got it for like 30 bucks. Great little lens. It's great on the OM3 actually. So my experience has been outstanding, but understand it's been a couple of years since I bought anything off their refurb site. So, because they're now on eBay, I don't think that makes any difference that the platform that they sell their products on. But if nothing has changed, then yeah, you can expect a practically brand new camera from the refurb site. That's been my experience. Ernest says, why do you need EVF if you can see it all on the back of the screen? Okay, so there's two things. Number one is, and this is more universal, if it's a very bright day out, it is hard to see the screen because of reflections and reflections and being very bright out. A lot of screens just don't get bright enough. That's more of a universal problem. A more specific problem for me is I can't see this. If I hold the camera this close and it's blurry. I can't see anything this close to my face. I can hold it out like this, right? And now it's a little clear. It's almost clear. But now it's too far away. And this brings up a third issue with using the back of the screen is it's not you can't stabilize the camera as well. If you want ultimate stability, you get the 3-point thing. You tuck your elbows, you push the EVF, against your face, and this is the most stable way to take a picture, and that is critical. Stability and holding stability is critical with any kind of image taking. IBIS aside, IBIS is great. But there's no substitute for good technique and, skill over that. That is always going to trump any kind of technology that's in the camera. So, and then there's also, not having any distraction when you're looking, right? Like this. If you're looking into EVF with your eye closed, you can frame exactly, very clearly what you want. But I would say the main deterrence for me is the fact that I just can't, if yeah, like if I'm trying to read the menu right now from this distance, it's really hard. I only know because I know the menus really well. I can kind of navigate this way, but that's why I need an EVF. I need an EVF with a diopter adjustment. So if I want to pixel peep, check critical focus, I can do that in the EVF. So there's glare on the screen on bright days, and then the last is stability, right? Just being able to do this. That's why I like an EVF. Composing from the back of the screen is just not really feasible for me for all of those reasons. I like to make sure I can make the camera as stable as possible. I want to check critical focus, and I want to be able to frame the scene without my peripheral vision getting in the way, right? And good morning, Rob from Edgar Steele. Do you have any advice for achieving image consistency when shooting an event with multiple bodies and lenses? Ooh, that's a tough one because events are very dynamic in terms of lighting, distances, subjects, right? There's all kinds of variation there. It's hard enough to get consistency with just one camera and one body. Okay. That's hard enough. And then trying to do it across multiple bodies and lenses, there's just too many variables there. Uh, the best you can do is, try to use the same body, meaning you have two OM1s or two OM5s, whatever it is, or at least stay within the same brand, right? Uh, but staying in the same brand doesn't guarantee same color from the same lens, from different lenses and all of that. If I were to do it, and usually when I'm doing I've only done a dual camera event once where I had sort of a short telephoto on one and then I had a wide angle on the other. The settings were very different because on the short telephoto, I needed faster shutter speeds and I wasn't using flash. So the scene is going to be, the image is going to be very different. Then on the other camera, I was using flash with a wide angle. My settings were very different between these two. But if you're doing an outdoor event, I don't know if you specified shooting an event. So you didn't specify indoor, outdoor, but even if it's outdoors, lighting situation changes a lot. So your best bet is, I would, if you're not using flash, I would just set it to the, I would just make sure the metering is consistent across all the cameras, meaning you're using the matrix metering. I forget what ESP or IS, I think OM System calls it ESP, Nikon calls it matrix, but you want to just let the camera decide the metering. Make sure that's the same on all the cameras. Uh, and your settings are the same, or your mode is the same. You're an aperture priority, shutter priority, whatever you need to be. Make sure they're all in the same settings. So the only thing changing really is the focal length, right? But depending on your diversity of focal lengths, it's going to really dictate what settings you want to use. So it's not easy. Not easy to do. Just shoot in RAW. Try and be within plus or minus one stop in terms of exposure across all the images, and then you can make adjustments scene to scene. And Edgar says, shooting with OM1. Oh, okay. So there's more details here. Shooting with OM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, and various lenses, I find the image result to vary quite a bit. Colors and contrast. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way around that. As far as I can't think of any scenario where you could get consistent colors. I mean, even if you had all OM1 Mark IIs or all EM1 Mark IIIs, the fact that you're changing lenses, different lenses can have a slightly different color, right? And then I'd like to adjust my shooting workflow to capture a more consistent image look across the various hardware combination and reduce time trying to make them look the same in post. Yeah, all I can say is make sure you're using the same settings across all the cameras, but there's so many variables there. It's really difficult to do. Hi, Rob. I was taking photos of Schroesfire's ponies the other day, and I'm ashamed to say I took some of them one-handed, arm outstretched, grand gangster style. I felt you looking for my shoulder. Yeah. Well, if your shutter speed is fast enough, you can shoot like that, right? But Larry, 1958 says the Olympus MC14 is $181 on Amazon, ships from Japan. Getting for the 40 to 152.8, I also ordered. Yes. So hope you use my affiliate links. But either way, I bought mine like that. I bought it on Amazon for $181 from the same link, which is also on my deal page. So and it was great. It's brand new. There's no warranty, but there's no moving parts in a teleconverter. So it should be fine. And Harold says, good morning, Rob. New guy here. Do you plan on doing any tutorial videos for the OM3? I do. I do. I will. They're not too dissimilar from my OM1 Mark 1 tutorials. I only have a couple of those, but I'll do some more. I guess it depends on what people are interested in. Are they interested in, and this is where I'm struggling to start, are they interested in the creative dial, or are they more interested in just learning how to use the camera in general and getting familiar with the dials and the buttons and things? It's so hard for me these days to make tutorials because I just overthink it sometimes. Because I've had so many cameras that when I pick one up now, it's just like I I don't know. But I'll try. I will try to make some tutorials. And but let me know what you're interested in general on that camera because there's so many features. There's the computational features. That's a whole different group of tutorials. There's the creative dial. That's another group of tutorials. And then there's just the basic camera settings, which is more about getting the right exposure, right? And taking advantage of some of the other features. Tim Adams says, day 4 with DxO, loving it. I didn't realize how handcuffed I was in own workspace doing global adjustments. Yeah, workspace is great, but yeah, not being able to do local adjustments because if you watch my photo editing streams, after I do my crop and white balance, those are global adjustments effectively, right? I go right into local adjustments. It's rare that I need to do global adjustments. Roger says, someone commented that you need to keep the hot shoe cover on to keep the camera completely weather sealed. Do you know if that's true or not? I don't know. It makes sense because I guess, yeah, I mean, I think that helps. It doesn't hurt to cover those pins. And Eric is here. He says, I'm not sure about using EVS as more steady. I would never use EVF to stack. I tuck elbows locked in back viewfinder. Yeah, if you're stacking if you are stacking landscape type stuff, like stuff that isn't macro, like normal field of view type stuff. I would still use I would still use my I would still do 3-point, definitely. It's just out of habit. I don't know if it's trying to think what effect would that have on it stacking though? I mean, if the technique applies to one image, it should apply to 100 images, right? If you're stacking. But, I saw a comment on Eric on your Flickr page on one of your macro shots, actually even on the same flower that I did, where you're thinking about getting the XH2 because you didn't feel like you were getting enough detail with your OM1 and 90 macro. Uh, I don't have any macro lenses for my Fuji, but I'd hate for you to spend a couple $1,000 and not. I don't know. Let me know if you do that. I should probably sell you my Fuji. I use it time to time though for my videos. Uh, I like the camera. I just don't use it much for photos. But I haven't tried the whole workflow of focus bracketing with the Fuji and stacking, seeing if there really is any more detail. There certainly is. I think the key is going to be in the post-processing of Fuji X-Trans files. You probably want to get Capture One. DxO Photolab 8 does a good job, but I think the very best photo editor is Capture One for the Fujifilm. And then I would, and you have to buy it. You have to buy it, unfortunately. Capture One. Hmm. I can see more fine hair details on Ellie when I use my XH2. And we're assuming we're gonna buy top tier glass, right? But you really have to pixel peep. Oh, thank you, Edgar. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Uh, so I'll get to that question here in a second. I'm trying to think if I have extension tubes for my Fuji, maybe I can try some macro shots. But I know comparing normal field of view type stuff. So if I'm shooting with the 33 millimeter 1.4 and comparing that against the 25 millimeter 1.4 that I have for my OM systems, you put those side by side, it's very difficult to tell at normal viewing distances. When you pixel peep down to 400 or 500%, you can definitely see tiny bit more details uh, in the hair. So I'm going to point you to one of my albums here. So this is one of my photo albums on Flickr. I do have kind of a macro. That's not really a macro. I just zoomed in. But there's some shots in here. Let me give you this link to this page. Maybe it'll help you make a decision. It may give you it just gives you more information, right, to compare. But like, let's see, what is this one? This is the OM1 versus XH2 versus A7RV. And This is a yeah, this is full resolution. So, like, look at the numbers here, 1000 on here, on this black and gold lettering, versus, say, the XH2, it's a lot sharper. And then going to the Sony, 60 megapixels is even sharper. So, megapixels are megapixels. You get more megapixels onto the subject, you're going to get sharper details. So this is a 25. So these were all at relatively similar focal lengths as well. Then I have another shot. Like this one here. This is the OM1 up here. Nice tight. I think that's 100% crop. Here's the XH2, I think, right? Yeah, that's the XH2. And then this is the S1R when I used to have it, right? Yeah, this is the S1R. Man, I got a chance to buy that camera for about $1,100. I'm thinking about it. This is what I mean, like when you're shooting a normal type shot, normal field of view, the XH2, S1R, OM1, you really have to pixel peep to see the difference in the fine details, right? You can certainly see some depth of field differences, but see if I have any other examples. I think these are high-res shots. This is where I was really struggling. And I'll never do high-res shot mode again with the XH2. Forget it. The A7R5, yeah, it's not worth it. It's just not worth the effort. But the OM1, yeah, I push the button, I'm done. So nothing beats OM systems for in-camera high-res shot mode. All this post-processing work you have to do with the other cameras like Sony and Fuji, it's too much work. And the results are not really any better than what I got out of my OM1. So definitely check that out. Okay, hello Rob, have you tried the new DJI RS4 Mini? No. What is that? A DJI RS4? Is that a gimbal? I assume. No, I haven't tried it. I have a very simple gimbal. I have about 3 gimbals, but they're all very rudimentary and they work great. One that I bought, gosh, one of the very first gimbals from Xion, it still works great. And then I got one as a gift from my nephew, and another one I bought because it was a good deal at the time. And it was a little smaller than the Xion. And the one I got as a gift was just, they didn't know I already had a gimbal. But it's the one I use the most because it's the smallest one. Darko says Fuji and Sony sold for Rob and getting the new Panasonic, maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't mind selling off the Sony and getting the new S1R Mark II. But I don't know what I'd be gaining other than I probably like that camera a lot more than I like my Sony. I mean, the Sony is a great camera, but I'm just not gelling with it. It just doesn't inspire me to take it out and shoot. I don't know why that should matter. It shouldn't matter what camera you have. If you want to go out and take pictures, it shouldn't matter what camera you have. But since I have a choice of cameras, that's the last one I pick when I pick up a camera to go out. I'd rather take my OM3, my Pen F, my Leica Deluxe, even the LX100, all of these smaller, lighter cameras for me are just more enjoyable to shoot with. Darko says, what strap holder do you use for dual camera system events? I want one for concert photography. I use a very cheap one. And I've only used it a couple times. But it's like, I'll show you. It's on my deal page. I hate to shill all day long. Let's see. I think it's in here. Yeah, this one. This is the one that I bought. Yeah, October 22nd. Yeah, it works great. 20 bucks. The reason I like this one is because on the back, let me switch over here. See on the back, it has this little padding here for your lower back. That really makes a big difference in the overall stability of walking around with two cameras. Because I've seen dual camera straps that don't have that. They sell for less, but they don't have this. This is this makes a difference in the overall handling of two cameras. So I like this one. And it can also be used as a sling. If you want, you can just take one of the straps off and use it as a sling. So it has some versatility as well. But this has been working great. So I will give you the affiliate link for that. Okay. And there's been a crap load of ghosting. Yeah, that's okay. So part of this, Eric, in the stacking, what I'm realizing, right? Let me show you. Is I'll get a bunch of images here together, right? And what I want to do is I don't want to stack. I don't want to include images like this. Let me show you one. Like you see this image, I would not include this in a stack. Because, you get a lot of images like this when you start, right? Depending on how many things you take. But what I do is I try to find like the image that starts where I want it to focus. So if I want to focus on this flower, I would look for the image where the very front of that flower starts to come into focus. Like right about here, it's starting to come into focus. Here a little bit more. So right here is perfect. This front edge is now in focus. So I'd make a note here. This is number 1478. So I would grab this one. And then I'll start looking for where the back edge is in focus. So maybe right here. So 7505. So I would go to 1478 to 7505. I would select these images out of the entire group. These are the images I would use to send to Helicon Focus or Photoshop or Picolay. Because otherwise, it's going to try and stack those blurry images in there as well. And I found that I got more ghosting and haloing when I included the out of focus images. And then you also have to adjust settings. In Picolay, you're going to adjust the, well, I'm not going to get into it now. I'm still experimenting a bit. But there's a lot of settings on Picolay to help minimize some of the ghosting. And Helicon, I just downloaded it yesterday. I don't know what settings can be adjusted there, but I know that if I just click stack, it did a really good job up front, but there's still haloing, as you saw in the images on my Flickr page. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Roger says, next time I'm out shooting flowing water, we'll try out the handheld high-res shot or high-res shot mode to see how that treats. I got so many images on my page, on my Flickr page like that, but try for yourself, you'll see. Uh, but on my Flickr page, uh, just type in Great Falls and your photos, or yeah, Great Falls National Park. So any of these pictures that have blurry water like this one's a little bit blurry. Let's see what did I do here. This is that's just a slow shutter. These are slow shutter shots. Here's one. Here's a high-res shot. This was with the Pen F. So the Pen F has a little bit more artifacting. So what you have to do is, let's see the shutter speed here. I'm at 1/60th of a second. All right, so we're gonna keep that in mind. And then, whoops, let me go back to the album. And then this one I did with the OM3. This one did a better, the OM3 does a better job. So the OM1, Mark 1, Mark 2, OM3, these three cameras, they improve the high-res shot mode algorithm. You get less artifacting and weird patterns, but this is a good one to look at. So let me give you a link to this one. Let's see if we can get similar results. I mean, you have to, ideally, you want to try to use the slowest shutter speed you can so that each frame that's captured is going to be kind of a little bit blurry anyway. And then when high-res shot mode starts stacking the images, the waterfalls are going to be even smoother. Now, in this scenario, the image that I just sent a link to, that one had a very fast shutter speed of 1/640th of a second. But that's offset because the water was moving like at 100 miles an hour or whatever speed it was moving. It was moving really fast. So even 1/640th of a second, the shots were a little bit blurry, so the image stacking came out really nice. So that was a good, that's a really typical example though of using high-res shot mode with with waterfalls. It does a really good job. You're still, if you pixel peep though, you're still going to see a little bit of stacking, right? And when you start doing your own, you'll see what I'm talking about a little better than the images that I have on there. Oh, okay, Siegfried, it was great having you here today. And can the aperture ring be used in the Lumix on the OM3? No, they have not implemented that on any of their cameras. Any of the OM system cameras cannot use the aperture ring on like Panasonic lenses. And that flower pick you're talking about took an incredible amount of time to get presentable. I even had to use Lightroom's blur to fix the ghosting and a lot of brushing between photos to wow. I didn't work that. I mean, I worked hard on those images that I showed you of mine, but I didn't go through all that. I basically uh, tried a couple of different stackings and I tried a couple of different groups of images to stack. And eventually I came out with one that was pretty good. So I spent maybe about 10, 15 minutes on each of those. And for focus stacking, I find Affinity Photo really good. That said, I use Mac, not sure on Windows based. Yeah, I don't know. I have the old Affinity. I don't even know if I installed it on this computer. The new Affinity Photo, the old one did it too, come to think of it. I have to find my copy. I don't know if I still have the license key for it or not, because I lost all of my emails. Maybe I can log in and get it. Oh, that's true. I do need to try Affinity again. I do have it installed. So, but this is version 1. Oops. Why is this not coming over? Version 2.6. Mine is like version 1. 1.1, 0.6.1665. I doubt there's any updates. I'll edit preference. I forget where to check for updates. It's usually in the help here. But anyhow, yeah, this had focus stacking too. I'll have to try this one. I forgot all about that. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, and Eric says foreground photos are bad news in the stack. Yeah, because it blurs the subject on the end. I agree. Yep. And let's see. Affinity is much better than Photoshop. It is very good, especially for the money. God, I bought mine on like a Black Friday sale for like $25. I mean, how could you not? And oh, Andrea, good to see you. On the Czech Republic. Nice. Amazing where everybody's from, from all over the world. So I wanted to come back here. So Edgar, thank you so much. It says, thanks for answering my question, Rob. The events I was referring to are challenging light indoors, no flash. I always start by shooting a color checker. Okay. Uh, yeah, if the lighting's the same throughout the space, I found a lot of interior lighting. You have some tungsten, then you have some LED lighting, which is cool, like a cool blue and, relatively speaking, and then you have fluorescent lighting. I can never get so using a color checker, you'd have to do it for every scene almost for each different uh, lighting scenario. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. The color checker really is better for calibrating the camera for accurate colors than calibrating a scene, right? I mean, if you're in, yeah, it's better for, I mean, you should, but it is good practice to do it for each set because you have a different lens and camera combination. You need to do that for each lens camera combination to get the most accurate colors and do it under the same lighting that these cameras and lenses are going to be used in because different lighting sources have different effects to color. So like fluorescent light gives this green tint, right? uh, LED lighting is the worst when it comes to, generally speaking, is the worst when it comes to reproducing accurate colors. So using a color checker in LED type lighting is even more critical. In fluorescent lighting, you can probably get away with just a white card, but if you're in LED lighting, artificial lighting like that, I'm not talking about like studio LED lights. I'm talking about like the screw-in bulbs or the panels. These things that you see in typical residential commercial places. The lighting is terrible. The light output, the quality of light, so it's gonna really mess with your colors. And having a color checker makes a lot of sense in those scenarios. But you have to do it for every lens and every camera. Okay. Just trying to catch up on the chat. Has anyone made any color recipes for OM3? In the Fuji community, there's a lot of support for color recipes. I did make one set. Uh, it's on one of my community posts on, and it's free. I mean, obviously. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. So this community post here, I actually saved it as a set file so that you can download it and load it onto your camera directly. And I have full instructions and everything in the comments underneath. So like C1 are my basic street settings. C2 is my cyberpunk settings. Let's see. Yeah, I have everything listed here, and you can download it right here. It's free. So how do I create a link for this post? I don't sure how to create a link for this post. Be a share link here. What if I click on the picture? Oh, there we go. All right. So if you want to get started with it, you can try that. I plan to do some more though. Seems like a lot of people are interested in this. There's a good start. One of them is my I called it Elite, where I tried to reproduce one of the color Kodak color films. That one's pretty good, actually. And sorry, I meant Affinity is better than Photoshop for stacking. Oh, okay, good to know. And hi, Robin, everyone. Hope all having a good day. I am. Thank you, Ken. I hope you are too. And let's see, up to 40 likes. Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, I think I'm all caught up. But if I have any other photos I can share while you guys throw in some questions. Wait, I think I saw Darko had a comment. DxO and all Nick collection with control points is the game changer we all should experience. Yes, even old original Nick, it changed my editing game. Yeah, Nick collection is pretty nice. It's a lot of fun. I don't use it that much, but when I do use it, I'm always happy with the results. Like in Silver Effects and the art, what's the other one called? Um, anyway, yeah, I use it time to time, but not very often. It's more for the creative types. If you like to really manipulate your images and make them look more a lot different than the original photo. And B says, I don't like the way my Peak Design straps sit on my OM3. Do you have any recommendations? So the one that I use, I like Peak Design, but I bought this one for like $8. I don't know if this is any better than the Peak Design one. But this one, it's a blue strap. But I have to have a detachable strap because I use a tripod a lot, and the strap is kind of a pain. But it's just this blue strap with all kinds of multiple connections. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend this over the Peak Design. But I assume when you say the way they sit on your OM3 is when you don't have the strap attached. You're talking about with it just, without the strap attached to the clips. But this is what I use. This a nice thin strap. Some other options. These are more common, right? This is the one from whatchamacallit, K&F. This is a really nice strap, but this is what the buckles look like. This is what you're more concerned about, right? Is how these things sit. Then I have and just for reference, for people that don't know about Peak Design, this is your typical Peak Design type buckle, right? So yeah, I really don't have a better recommendation. I just have different straps that I've tried. And so far, I like the Peak Design the best, personally. But other than that, these are the only other kinds of things I've tried is where you have like this snap buckle, like this. Okay. And Cliff says, now that you have the OM3, do you use it with the 12 to 40 Pro? If so, how do you find the handling? Is the lens front heavy? I don't use it with the 12 to 40 Pro much. Time to time I've done it. It is a little front heavy, but as I've said time and time again, typically I don't hold the camera one-handed like this when I'm taking a photo. Even, I'm getting a wood grip or some grip eventually. I haven't decided on one yet. There's a wood one that I kind of like right now. But yeah, I always hold my camera like this when I'm taking a photo, so that it doesn't matter if it's a little front heavy because I would be holding it mostly by the lens and body this way. And all this hand has to do is push the button or navigate the menu. But if I am holding it one-handed, it's not great on the OM3 because there's no grip. But I think with a grip, like an accessory grip, it'll be a lot better, and the 12 to 40 Pro will be no problem. But honestly, I think the 12 to 45 is a much better fit for that camera. The 12 to 40, I'd show you, but I have the 12 to 4. I'm using it right now on the OM3 or on my OM5 here. Not on my EM5 for the stream. Otherwise, I would just kind of show you. And someone on the Reddit M43 blog had a nice harbor night scene using G9's high res and higher with higher shutter speed. The water smoothing was pretty nice. Okay. I thought the water smoothing on that image I showed was really good. Listening in and heading to Brunswick Station, hopefully there's some good subjects on the C&O Canal. Oh, okay. Peter says, could you explain about the color recipes? I'm not familiar with all this. Okay, so the color recipes are usually we're referring to the creative dial here, putting it into the color mode and then adjusting and then adjusting this color wheel that you see here, right? Um, and what you can do is adjust the color saturation of the individual colors up to 12 different colors. That's all. So you're just increasing saturation of some colors, decreasing it for others. And then another part of the recipe is also very common is adjusting the white balance. So you might be shifting the white balance a little more magenta or a little bit, a little bit warmer. Uh, so you can tweak all of those things and then you come up with a very different look. So I'll give you an example. I just did, let me see, I think I did it at Meadowlark. So I did some art bracketing where I bracketed the color profiles that I created. So these are various different recipes. And so this is one. I need to have a comparison though. Let me find a one. That's not standard. 1 second. I'm not sure which one was natural, but uh, we'll set this we'll set this one as the reference. So it's very subtle, right? It might be very hard to see the difference between these two. There is a difference. This is another one. This one's a little bit more muted in the greens, it looks like, versus this one is slightly more saturated. And this one is more saturated in the reds. But and there's also a slight shift in the greens to yellow. So this is a white balance shift. So this is a combination saturation red and white balance shift to more amber, more of an amber type color. And then this one has a shift also in highlight shadows. So there's a shift in the tone curve. And let's see, I don't see too much else going on with color. It looks like the greens, there is a very slight shift to amber on this one in the white balance. Yeah, there's definitely a slight shift to amber. Let's see, this one's black and white. So there's also black and white recipes, or really all you're doing is adjusting the tone curve. But let's see, is that so here's two different recipes. Here's another one. This one has a little more contrast, so you can see the grass here is much brighter than the one over here. Hopefully you can see that in a stream. The stream is so compressed. These two look pretty close. The one on the right has a little bit of a shift. I think this has a red filter applied because the bricks here are brighter than the bricks over here. And then if you look up here in the corner, the sky is a little darker versus the sky over here. So this looks like a red filter applied. And then that's all I see there. This one, this is also, this looks like a simple shift in the tone curve, a little bit of a pull on the shadows and maybe the midtones. But this is what we're trying to do with recipes is adjust, tone curve, white balance shifting, And I'm not talking about just simple white balance, like setting the Kelvin temperature. We're actually shifting it more magenta, more amber, more green, or more more magenta, right? So you can shift the white balance in the four different directions at the same time or individually, in addition to adjusting saturation of individual colors. And then, of course, back to the tone curve. You can also do gradation settings that is more specific to OM systems. All of this stuff. And you get some very, very subtle differences from shot to shot to shot. Some are more dramatic than others. Obviously, if you desaturate something a lot, it'll be obvious. But usually, the recipes, the differences are very subtle, uh, shot to shot. And some images are impacted more than others, right? It's kind of winter time still here. Spring is coming. That's when you're going to see a lot more differences between the different color recipes that I'm going to try and come up with. Because when there's no color, there's nothing to saturate or desaturate. I mean, all the trees are still bare. Not all, but a lot of the trees in my backyard are still completely bare. The grass is just now starting to turn green. There's not a lot of color yet, but in about another 4 weeks, when I start applying different color recipes, the differences will be a little more dramatic because we're affecting more colors. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Norm says, I'm going to have to give myself 6 month challenge. I own 6 Micro Four Third lenses. Starting April, I will only shoot with one lens for each month. Okay. Well, I guess, Norm, the question is, what are you challenging yourself to? I mean, challenging to use one lens is makes sense, but why would you do that, right? That needs to be what the challenge is about, is why am I choosing this lens? So let's say you're going to shoot with your 25 millimeter. So is the goal, what's the goal or the challenge at 25 millimeters? So I would take it a step further and ask, what is my challenge at 25 millimeters? Am I trying to, um, gosh, I'm not good at this, but you see where I'm going, right? Because I could use one lens for a month, but if I don't have any goal with that lens, I don't think I would accomplish quite as much. So have a goal for that lens also. Like this would be a good example. Like, let's say you have the 75 millimeter f1.8. Okay, your challenge is I'm going to only use this lens, but you should add on to that and say, okay, I'm going to use the 75 millimeter 1.8 for street photography because that's kind of an unconventional combination. Um, think of it, take it maybe one more step, and I think you'll get a lot more out of it. And Zoltan is here. Hello, Zoltan. Good to see you. Oh, so your goal is to learn about each lens more effectively. Okay. So you're trying to understand the optical properties of the lens, like is it blurry in the corners? Is it sharper when you focus at close subjects, or is it sharper when you close focus at further objects? Or trying to know all of these things about the lens optically. Or are you trying to learn what kind of compositions can you get with this lens at various distances and various subjects, right? So, like I said, I would take it just another step, like be a lot more specific about why you're choosing this lens, what you want to accomplish with it. It could be multiple things, like optically, sure. So you might say, today and tomorrow, I'm going to shoot at all different apertures at various distances of the same subject and compare all of these shots and see what I get. Do I notice any field curvature? Do I notice any vignetting in the corners? Do I notice, uh, you know, that it focuses or it it's sharper when I focus at things close up? So you could kind of break it up into multiple projects for one lens, right? And then move on to compositions. Okay, what kind of compositions can I get for different things? So if I'm going to do landscapes with a 25 millimeter, is it wide enough for that? Can I do astro, like night shots, landscape shots. Anyway, let your imagination guide you. Uh, but more compositional, more creative versus technical. Okay, so yeah, so like I said, you're thinking about what kind of compositions can you get with this particular focal length, right? And then think about it in terms of, okay, break it up. Okay, what kind of compositions can I get for landscape? What kind of compositions can I get for architectural or street? What kind of compositions can I get for portrait with this focal length? What is it good for? So if you're shooting with a 12 millimeter f2, you wouldn't typically think of that as a portrait lens. There are some fantastic wide angle portrait people, as you know, right? Because we both studied under Joe Edelman, right? And his list of master photographers, I think, as Peyton was one of them. Um, so yeah, all of these things, I think you can really do a lot. It's a great project to do if you can do it. um, yeah, definitely that would be a lot of fun. That's something I should do. My problem is I got too many cameras. I keep going back and forth between cameras. Like I took this out the other day, the Leica, and this camera, I'm starting to get a feel for it. I mean, it's optically, I mean, image quality wise, it's identical to my Lumix LX100 Mark II. Identical. I cannot tell the difference, pixel peeping, whatever, between these two cameras. Even in the colors, I mean, they look identical in standard color mode. This has some very limited color profile choices, but uh, where was I going with this? Okay, so but this camera is sort of like it really takes away all of the things that the LX100 Mark II is can do. Like I can't do focus stacking with this. It's a really interesting introduction for me to Leica. I mean, this is their cheapest one, obviously, but their whole philosophy and design and approach to photography is different. I mean, I can tell even in this ridiculous. This is a really a ridiculous camera, but it's great. But yeah, I can appreciate what Leica the Leica experience is different. I mean, I'm not converted or anything. Just I can, but it is a very different camera. Not sure how to how to articulate that. But the simplicity of all you have to do is look at the buttons on the back, right? That is, and the menu system is really simple too. Um, it's so simple, really straightforward and very simple, and so it's interesting. But it's essentially an LX100 Mark II, but it's just been kind of reimagined under Leica or Leicified, so to speak. Oh, Sol Leader. Yeah, Sol Leader is awesome. Very punchy colors, reds, oranges, those kind of things. One of my favorites. Okay, well, I think I will call it here. I don't see a lot of any other questions. If I missed any questions, let me know. But I'm gonna get back to what I got going on this week. I know I'm getting a new lens to review, but it's for Sony. If you have a Sony camera, you might be interested in it. It's a 75 f2. Hopefully, I'm not under embargo for that. I didn't even I didn't even double check. I got some other things coming though. Maybe. I don't know if they're gonna send it to me or not, but it's some kind of backpack with a battery charger built in. And then, man, I was trying to get this electric bicycle. I want an electric bicycle so bad, and somebody emailed me, "Would you like to review our electric bicycle?" And I didn't see it. I didn't see the email for a couple of weeks, so I emailed them back, and they're not responding now. But and there was that, and then there was, some batteries. Got some batteries coming in, but it's for a Canon. But anyway, I got some different stuff coming in. We have the Canon 5DC with 40 millimeter and a GF1 20 millimeter. Planning to compare. Same. Yeah. 5DC. What is that exactly? 5D. I know I know the 5D like Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. What's a 5DC? Oh, that's a cinema camera. But that's the R5C. You said 5DC. There's a 5DS. Oh, 5D Classic. Okay. I just saw your chat over here. Okay. I was thinking about I was thinking about getting a 5D Mark III, but then I realized I don't have any lenses for it. I mean, I know you can buy the lenses cheap, and then I'm like all in into a whole other system, and I said, forget it. But the 5D Classic, okay. Uh, Lender says in OM5 in auto setting, where to change the photo modes? Hmm. You should be able to do it in the super control panel. Uh, Dang it. I assume when you say auto setting, you're in program mode or P mode on the camera, and you want to shift. You have to be a little more specific. There's a lot of variables here that we can talk about if you want to change the photo modes. But the photo modes are on the mode dial on the top. So PASM, program mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, and manual mode. And then from there, you would use the super control panel typically to adjust all the settings. And then by default, the dials on the camera are also set to change different settings. So what I would recommend is look at my video for the EM5 Mark III, all of my settings explained, and that should give you a good head start. Let me see if I can find it. It's episode number 230. So Lender, maybe watch this video. It's about 90% the same as the OM5. But I think for the kind of question you're asking, this video should answer your question a little better. And Shri is here. Hey, Shri, how are you? And Marco says, I have no need for a Deluxe 8, but you're making me want to trade the LX102 plus some random lenses I have laying around to get one. Or bad influence sometimes. I know. So, yeah, I'll give you a closer look at it. Very, very straightforward, very simple. I don't know if, and this is a great case because it has a separate quarter 20 plug here, separate to where it's mounted on the camera. I can still get to the battery door. The grip is very minimal. This is a great, great case. Yeah, But I don't think the autofocus, the menu system is pretty sweet though. It's so straightforward that I can switch from menu to menu. It's just really, really simple, and it's all touchscreen, you know? Uh, and not the menu itself. Just like the Panasonic. Like the control panel's touchscreen, but not Panasonic, I think you can touch anywhere on the menu, unless I disabled it somewhere. My advice though is don't buy it. If you got an LX100 Mark II, and I know you don't like that camera very much, I don't know if this would make you like it anymore. But it is a very different experience though. From the LX100 Mark II, although they're virtually identical cameras, it's tough to explain. But it is nice. What can I say? Yeah, and this side towards screen, good morning. Yeah, it's a beautiful little camera, I agree. Want to experience the Leica menus, etc. I really appreciate the small zoom point and shoot cameras. Give me an EVF and a tilt screen. No VVF is a deal breaker. Would like to have one. Yeah. So yeah, this has the EVF. It has, yeah, the EVF is really good. Some people really like the EVF on this. You know, I was fine with the LX100 Mark II EVF, but what I did is I got this thing. Uh, I've showed this before. This is like a top-down screen. I can just compose this way if I want. Everything's backward, but I can look down here and it shows me what's in front. It's on sale right now for $25 on my deal page. I think you still pay like $5 shipping and it takes a week or two to get it. But anyway, I finally got mine. This is a nice little addition because this doesn't have a tilt screen, right? But okay. I should take a ride to B&H and play with it first. If they let you. When I went to District Camera, my local camera store, they wouldn't open the box. I wanted to look at it too. But I knew I was going to buy it anyway, so I just bought it. And then I took it out. The salesperson there never even seen the Deluxe 8 in real life. Because they don't open the boxes there in the store. For the Leicas anyway. They don't open the boxes. They open the boxes for like the Sonys and everything, but not the Leicas. So they didn't even see she had never even seen this in real life herself. But yeah, this case is awesome. It's $90 for this freaking leather case, but it's perfect. 99% perfect. Love my Pentax MX1. Oh yeah, that's a cool little camera. That is, yeah, that's a classic. What are those selling for now? Um, 350 bucks, $400. So this camera, if I recall, was basically an Olympus XZ2, just a little different form factor, right? But that's what I heard somewhere that, and when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that does look a little bit like the XZ2, the Olympus XZ2 compact camera, which is, I got it for $100 before all the prices jumped up. But where is it? Right here. This one. Doesn't that look really familiar? It looks a lot like the I tilt it this way. See? The lens and everything looks really similar. But this has power. No, batteries are dead. But this has the option, I can plug in an EVF. I have an EVF somewhere for it. Same lens, right? A 1.8. Yep. They're using the same lens. I think everything's pretty much the same. Hmm. Yeah, the top-down viewer is pretty cool. I've used it a couple times. There's a lot of parallax error though if you're shooting things close up, like if it's this close. I couldn't use it for any kind of macro stuff because nothing is framed right because of the parallax. But for stuff that's like 2 meters, 5 meters out, you're fine. But for things close up, yeah, it's not happening. I was struggling. Anyway. And what's your take on the two new Canon cameras? I'm not that excited about them. I don't. They're video focused, so that's the main reason. Uh, no EVF, no IBIS. Uh, really, and you're using the same RF lenses. Lens selection is pretty slim too. So as a photographer, they just don't excite me at all. Uh, Even the hot shoe is not even for real. You have to use Canon flashes, I think might work on them, but you can't like use generic flashes. So it's a total miss on everything. It's like the Panasonic S9 that came out. No mechanical shutter on that, no hot shoe, no EVF. So it's just a lot of things missing as that I would like to have as a photographer. So that's all. Price point is still 1,000. I mean, I can buy an OM5 for like $1,000 all day long anywhere. Not brand new. Brand new, maybe 1,200, something like that. But used 900 to 1,000 all day long. I'd much rather have that. What's the focal length range of the top? So it's the full view. The full view is 28 millimeters. And then you can see the little frame lines. It has frame lines for 35 and 50 millimeters. I think you might be able to get them where it's a little tighter. It starts at 40 millimeters, but this is the one I got because this camera is a 24 to 75. So this makes sense for me to get a 24. Well, this is a 28. This has a 28 millimeter field of view, and then frame lines for 35 and 50 is the short answer. Show that to you one more time. Right? Okay. And the Gray Vanzini is here. Hello. And Angelo, good to see you from the Netherlands. PhotoZen says, how could management and prospective economics convince populace to buy point-and-shoot cameras for thousands of dollars? I know. Um, Me and Ella channel, just subscribe. Oh, thank you. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess photos and your question is, why would anybody make a point and shoot camera that costs thousands of dollars like this Deluxe 8? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Like the Leica Q3 is basically a point and shoot camera. What else? No, I don't know. I think market is so different. Oh, SingStat, thank you. I activated some app on my thing here, and now these things pop up. If you subscribe, we'll get these little things pop up. I don't think they're trying to go like broad market. These are niche or very specific products for specific buyers. So that's why they can charge so much. They're not designed for the general population. That's what like the Canon T7 for $500. That's for the masses, right? These cameras are niche. You know, these are for very specific kind of buyers, not just the Leica, but any of these $1,000, $2,000 point and shoots. These are for very specific buyers. So I would imagine they're gonna have a very limited quantity and something unique about them, like the Leica Deluxe 8, just being a Leica makes it unique. But something like, I don't know, the GR3 is kind of $1,000 camera, right? And that's a pocket point and shoot. Very niche, specific kind of buyer that only wants to do street photography. Uh, and Calvin, good to see you from Lake Maine. Um, Marco says the Stylus one remains my favorite, most versatile point and shoot compact with leather case and red shutter button. Such a gorgeous little yeah, I was gassing for that camera pretty bad for a while. And then I borrowed one for a couple of months from a friend of mine, and he had the tan leather case for it. No question, it's beautiful little camera, but I just didn't vibe with it. I think it was just being a super zoom is what kind of turned me off a little bit. Uh, Sometimes it's just too much range, right? That when I went out shooting with it, I just felt like, what am I going to use this camera for? Am I going to shoot birds with it, or am I going to shoot street, or am I going to do macro with it? I mean, it can do it all, right? It was just maybe too much for me. Maybe I just didn't like I think it was really just the fact that it zoomed too much, but that lens is so good on that camera. Ah, and it has the larger small sensor in it and all the features of OM system or Olympus, right, that would have at that time. I should but ultimately I just decided ultimately I just couldn't gel with it. I didn't want to take it out because I don't know, I can't think of why. Whereas something like this I like, because it is a very limited zoom range, very limited features. It just lets you concentrate on doing photography, I guess is the way to think about it. And you're not trying to do 10 different things with it. You're not trying to do focus bracketing. You're not trying to do like live comp or, whatever else, high res shot mode or pre-capture. You can't do any of those things with this camera. You're not trying to do any. When you take this camera out, you're going out with a lot of limitations. But then that's kind of the thing about this is when you take it out, it does kind of simplify your photography to the point that you're only going to take certain kinds of pictures, right? You can focus on those and the compositions and focus on photography with this camera. You don't have to think about anything else. Gonna save your pennies for the Sigma BF. Yeah, I'll get one day, probably. It's such a unique little camera. It's an absolute ridiculous camera, but it's really cool. There's certain, I've gone from gas. I've 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 what's the word I'm looking for? I've been promoted from gas to collector. So I used to be a gas buyer. I would just buy everything because I just wanted it. But now I think I'm more collector now. Have you seen the YoloCam S7? Interesting MFT webcam. I may have seen it. Sounds familiar. YoloCam. Let me just look it up real quick. I have seen a picture of it. I have not watched any videos or anything about this camera. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. Sorry. But it's a 4/3 streaming camera. Interesting. How much is it? I didn't even look at the price. Maybe I can buy that and I can start to use my EM5 Mark III instead of using it for the live streaming. It's such a waste of this camera. I don't see any pricing for it. Where's the buy button? An overview, contact sales. Maybe it's not available yet. Is that the problem? Has anyone oops, sorry. Does anyone know what they're asking for this camera? I mean, if it's less than 500 bucks, I might get one, you know? But because like I said, my EM5 Mark III, of course, I could just buy an EM5 Mark III for about 500 bucks these days. So why would I buy that thing? But it's killing me. I'm using the EM5 Mark III for streaming. It's such a waste. That this camera deserves better. But it just has everything I need to stream. This is my EM10. I don't use this camera very often. It's kind of on its way out. But this one here, this camera's way too good to be a streaming camera. No price posted. Must be, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. And then Kevin says, haha, I'll start telling my wife that. Yeah, that's right. You've been promoted from gas to collector. I'm a collector. This is important. That's right. This camera is important. It's going to be very important one day in camera history. PhotoZen says, did you hear the shutter sound of the new OM3? Robin Wong posted a short video. Sounds like a jackhammer. Oh, I didn't think there was anything wrong with the shutter sound. Let's see. I usually shoot in silent shutter, so I haven't really. It's very similar to, let me go to full mechanical. That's just front curtain shutter one. Oh, I so rarely deal with the shutter. I drive. Hmm. Because right now my full mechanical shutter is disabled for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if you can hear it. It's fine. Let me, what, compared to what though? Let me get my OM1. See. Put it in mechanical. I have it in bracketing mode. Hold on. It does sound different, but it's not like it's louder. In fact, this sounds a little louder. This is a little bit, slightly more. Okay, so what's my shutter speed? 1/30th. What's it on this one? 1/60th. Let me put them both at 1/60th. It's louder on the OM1. I don't know if, I don't think you guys can hear it though. Yeah, there's no way you're going to hear this over the thing. This is quieter than my OM1. Okay, I can actually measure it. Hold on. Let's measure this. So I have a sound meter on my app. I'm going to take the lens off and just put the, okay. .71 decibels. Okay, we're at 71 on this one. Let's see. OM1. .71. But honestly, I'm going to try. I want you guys to hear it. I got to turn off manual focus. Let me put this in manual focus. I got to turn off my filter on this. I think I have a noise gate filter set up. I turn off noise suppression, compressor, and noise gate. Let's see. Now you should be able to hear it. That's the OM1. It does sound a little more substantial though on the OM3. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try and measure it one more time. Whoops. So here's the OM3. So 78 or 81, I'm getting two different numbers, right? How about this one? Okay. I'm seeing 82 time to time. Maybe I saw one at 84. That's a fluke, maybe. So this is a little louder. It's a little louder. Very subtle though, almost identical, but it's very, very subtle. Okay. Anyway, it is what it is. I gotta turn my filters back on. Okay, that's better. Sounds like yeah. They sound different. The OM1 is a little more clackety. The OM3 has a more of a bass sound to it. And I would call the OM1 more like a tenor. It's a little bit higher pitch. So it is different. Sounds the same over the mic, but here in person, it sounds a little different. Yeah, you can hear a little bit of different. OM3 got some bass. Yeah, that's right. It's got some bass. Hi, Rob. I noticed on Insta that you're using both the 300 millimeter with the teleconverter and the 150 to 600. I returned my copy of the 150 to 600 too big and not as sharp as the 300 combo. I agree. I borrowed the 150 to 600 and I owned the 300 with the teleconverter. And I think cropping in with the 300 1.4 gave me virtually identical results to just shooting at 600 millimeters natively. So, uh, but the 600, the 150 to 600 is very sharp lens, but it's not as sharp as the 300. It's very, very subtle. And I didn't shoot enough with both to give any good examples of that. But my initial feeling was my 300 millimeter was sharper than the 150 to 600. So I'd rather just crop in a little bit to get the same 600 millimeter equivalent. Uh, Evan says $8.99. Oh yeah, that's too much. I'm not paying that much for a webcam. uh, Camera collector or photographic device archive is so much better. Yeah. And Alvin Kendall from Maine. Okay, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. You have the OM3. Yes, I did buy one. Mark says, that's it. Got to have that shutter sound. And we need a dedicated ASMR video to shutter sounds. Oh, I could do that. I got so many cameras. And does having the lens on quiet? Yes, a little bit. Yeah, especially on the OM1. The OM1 has that kind of higher frequency pitch to it that putting a lens on the front muffles most of that out. Whereas on the OM3, it's more muffled, but not as much as the OM1 is muffled. Yeah, try listening to older DSLR camera shutters. They can be loud, that's true. My Nikon DF, I put it on silent mode or quiet mode. That helps a lot, as opposed to just having the mirror slap it top speed, the quiet mode slows that mirror down. Henry says, when I remove the lens on my EM5 II, it looks like the shutter is open, sensor exposed. Why? Is there a reason? Does this potentially harm the sensor? No, it doesn't harm the sensor at all. You know, yeah, but they all do that. I don't think any, like, here's my OM3, brand new. Let me turn the camera off. There's there's no there's no shutter that closes to protect it. So what basically there's what I've seen with these cameras that have shutters that close is some of them have a separate shutter or curtains as opposed to the shutter curtains. And then most of them, I think, just use the actual shutter curtains to cover the sensor. It doesn't protect the sensor in any way other than if there's any ambient dust right there near the sensor when you're changing lenses. But I haven't found that it really helped. Like my Sony has that feature where it closes the shutter. I still get dust on the sensor. Uh, but I think the reason they don't do it in the majority of cameras is to protect the shutter itself. Because if you break the shutter mechanism, it's much easier to do than to break the sensor. Because, like, if I'm not going to do it, but if I put my finger on the sensor right now, I can just clean it. It's just glass, right? But the shutters, not the leaf shutters, but the shutters inside, typically they're like a plastic, whether you want to call it Teflon or, there's different materials they use for the shutters themselves, the curtains. But if I touch that inadvertently with my finger, not just touch, but push it in, I could bend them or put a crack in them or damage them very, very easily. So that's why a lot of cameras don't do that. The cameras that are doing it, you're taking a risk. In addition to that, there are cameras that have a separate shutter curtain from the actual shutter. They have actual curtains for the sensor. And if you damage that, you can get the camera repaired probably for less money than to repair if you actually damage the shutter curtains. So I think that's why they do it is the shutter curtains are much more vulnerable than the sensor itself. But what are you going to leave exposed, right? Yeah, the Z8 has a shield. Yeah, so that I think that doesn't actually that the Z8 does not use the actual shutter curtains. It has a separate shield, what they call it. That makes sense. And this side says, I'm always afraid have my sensor exposed for any length of time. Is it just me? Yeah. Don't expose your sensor for any length of time. You don't want dust getting on it for any reason. And if you do that repeatedly, eventually you're going to get a haze on the sensor and it's going to need some serious cleaning. So I try to always have a lens on and or lens cap, uh, body cap, I should say. And Shree says, does it make sense to get refurbished OM1 Mark II when you own the OM1 Mark I? Am I just thinking about shutter life of the OM1? No, just use. Okay, in my case, I'm going to use the OM1 until it dies. I don't see any reason to upgrade the Mark II, not for the uses that I have it for. And now I have the OM3, but it's not a replacement for the OM1 in any shape or form. Well, it does replace the OM1 in birding. I don't need to bring the OM1 anymore. I can just use the OM3 for birding. Uh, but it's not going to replace the OM1 ever. I'm just going to wait for it to die. Oh my goodness, George, thank you so much. That is awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate your support. You've always been very supportive for many years. Dropping 10, 20 bucks here and there. It's so awesome. I do appreciate it. Um Yeah, but I wouldn't worry about exposing the sensor for short periods of time. But don't do it just as a habit, don't do that. Holy crap, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes? I should go. I know there's a lot of people here, it looks like. How many people are in the chat? My counter here is never right. It's showing like 81 people right now, which is a lot for me. But I'm so glad you guys are here. So, Ray Van Zena says, I always carry two bodies. I hate changing lenses in the field. Yeah, that's always the biggest risk, right? Is changing the lenses in the field. And that's why weather sealing has never been really, I don't like to go out when it's raining anyway, but when you open the camera up to swap lenses, you really, and it kind of makes weather sealing moot, right? There's no weather sealing when the camera, like this is a weather sealed camera until I take the lens off, right? 85 watching. Okay, good. And Verona says, hello, Rob Trek, and thank you very much. Well, no, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I always do the best I can. Uh, need as many cameras as you have lenses. The gas rules. Yeah. I'm trying to think now, do I have more cameras or do I have more lenses? I'm pretty sure I have more lenses than I have cameras now, but it's starting to kind of balance out. Because a lot of the cameras have fixed lenses, so I don't, those don't need a separate lens. So if you count those, like my bridge cameras, my compact cameras, all these cameras don't have interchangeable lenses. So when you add it up that way, I'm trying to think what if I have more cameras now than I do lenses, because I just sold a bunch off recently, so I could buy my Leica, which has its own fixed lens in it. So that was like I think I traded 13 lenses in just to get this one camera, and now that was a 13-to-1 ratio. But okay, wow, even more people drop in. And how's everybody doing today? Who's new here? Oh, sorry, I missed this question here. How is the OM3 handling for birding with the flat grip? Do you rely more on the left hand? Yeah, definitely the left hand. Because, I have the 300mm f4, so this hand doesn't do anything but push the shutter button and navigate the menu. Or I'm on my new gimbal. You gotta see this. I love this. This is the best thing I've bought in a while. Is this monopod? I've always had this monopod, but I had to update it for different reasons. But yeah, this little gimbal is awesome. It was $59. They have cheaper ones. Don't buy the cheap one. This one was $59, but this is still more than half the price of uh, the Leofoto one. But you put this on your monopod. Let me take this head off. It's hard. It's hard to. So, yeah, this little gimbal. This is awesome. Anyway, I have it on a gimbal like this, or I just hold it with my left hand, so it's no problem. But I will tell you, handling is better with a grip, no question. But that is mitigated a lot because you are holding it with your left, or I am holding it with my left hand and or using it on a gimbal. But it's still nice to have a grip. But it's very, very minimal difference for me. And what is the monopod you showed? Okay, this is the Sirui AM, I don't know if I can get this to go around. AM 404 FL. This is an awesome monopod. 130 bucks. The link on my deal page, links below. Anyway, it comes with this quick detach head so that I use this a lot as a mini tripod. So I'll take the feet off just as easily, and then I'll snap this on. Now I have a mini tripod. So I can take my OM3, snap it on, and now I have a mini tripod, tabletop tripod, right? I should put a lens on here, speaking of not leaving your sensor exposed for too long. But yeah, then just release, quick release, comes right off. And if I want to make this a monopod again, let's take the head off. Snaps back in there, and then this snaps back in here. And now I'm back to full-on monopod. And then I can put my gimbal on. Now I got my gimbal. Okay. And David Allen says, Rob, just wondering if you know, I have lots of old M43 cameras, lenses, and they're so big. My question is, since the sensor for Micro Four Thirds is the same size, why did Olympus make 4/3 so large? Mainly for handling, right? And miniaturization of electronics, because the old 4/3 cameras were not mirrorless, they were mirrored cameras. So you had to make them bigger. You have the mirror box. And then also the miniaturization of circuits, has come a long way. But back on the old E3, E1 series, they were still using CMOS sensors, I believe, at least the first one. And CMOS has required more energy, so they required bigger batteries. So there's a lot of reasons, the old 4/3. But after converting to CMOS sensors and more miniaturization of the electronics with less power demand, so they could use less, smaller batteries. They don't need a mirror box because they went mirrorless. So there's a lot of reasons they were a lot bigger. Those are the ones off the top of my head. Is no mirror box, smaller batteries, and advancements in miniaturization of electronic components. And Brana says, nice monopod. And then, yeah, it is nice. I love it. Rob, have you ever done a gimbal video? I wanted to get one, but I heard the time to set up is very, oh. If you're talking about those larger gimbals that have like the L shape, I don't have one of those to do a video on. But I can tell you, this gimbal, there's nothing fiddly about it, nothing to adjust. You just mount your camera on here. Now with my 300mm f4, I have to push the camera slightly, I forget forward or backwards, but I have to push it, put it in the grip just slightly forward or backwards, and then it's balanced, at least horizontally. I don't have to worry about vertical balance because this is one axis, right? It only spins in one direction. Oops, I got to adjust it a little bit so it doesn't touch. Okay, so yeah, it just spins in this one direction. Now, if I want to do a horizontal, I just loosen it, and then I can rotate. I can rotate this way, right? Rotate this way. Using the monopod itself. And then I rotate, vertically and horizontally. But yeah, some people, they do have trouble balancing those L-shaped gimbals because you have to mount it, yeah, because it goes in 2 directions, right? It swings and it rotates, and they have to kind of balance it at least on 2 axes. If that's the gimbal you're talking about, if you're talking about, like, the video type gimbals, no, I'm never, there's lots of videos on that, on how to balance those. No, it's not electronic, no. And Drew is here. Hey, Drew, how are you? Good to see you. Have you ever done a gimbal video? No. No, there's a lot of videos. It is a little bit fiddly though. It takes me some time. Uh, I had my one gimbal calibrated. If you're talking about a video gimbal, my OM1 and 12 to OM1 and 7 to 14, I had it calibrated so that, and then I didn't touch it. And I would always, whenever I went on a video job, that was the camera lens combo I would put on that gimbal every time. Uh, but if I had to use a different lens, I'd have to recalibrate it. And I mean, it's like anything, you get good at it after a while. I was able to balance, a lens and camera on there pretty quickly after I did it a few times. But I haven't done that in, gosh, over a year. So if I had to do it right now, I'd have to look it up again how to do it, and uh, and then get back into practice. So, all right, man, I'm so flattered. Everyone, there's still a lot of people here, but I need to go. I'm getting hungry. And it looks like it's a nice day out, so I want to maybe go out and do some shooting. So thank you everyone for coming in today. I may do a live stream tomorrow uh, to go over some of these spring deals. There's a bunch of deals on my deal page. I should have a link down below, like robtrek.com/deals. Check those out. That also supports the channel. So if there's anything you need or we're thinking about getting, there's some good deals there. And that's it. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you again soon.